Welcome back to BASF presents Future Perfect 3.0 in association with Times Now and ET Now, a show which focuses on the chemistry which comes into play for sustainable innovations for quality of life in the city. Okay, our next speaker is somebody who's actually designed this wonderful building which has so much of natural light and very interesting layouts. I haven't seen an auditorium scale to this size like this. And indeed, he is an architect by profession, but he has many sides to him, as I learned during my brief interaction. Let's welcome on board our next speaker for this evening, Mr. Narasimhan.
My name is Naresh V Narasimhan. I'm an architect. I work with a firm in Bangalore, headquartered in Bangalore, called Venkatraman Associates. It's a 50-year-old firm, and we are active in about 26 locations in India and 3 outside. One of the big interests of my life these years have been that the quality of Indian cities is not improving at all. The quality of our buildings are getting better and better. So my focus here today will be to talk about how do you make cities smarter? What does it take to make our outdoors as good as our indoors? 4 years ago, when the new government took over, we got a new word in our dictionary. We knew it was always there, but everybody started saying smart cities. But 4 years later, nothing much doesn't seem to have changed, right? Less than 10% of the budget allocated for the smart city development has been spent, mostly in fairly basic stuff, right? So I started asking myself, why is that? Are we incapable of thinking, or have we used the wrong adjective? Should we have said intelligent cities or inclusive cities? What should we have done instead to make it happen? And then I found out that nobody's actually bothered to define what is a smart city, right? So I started saying that how do you go from a manifesto to a manifestation? The curious fact here is that from a population of about 350 to 400 million people in cities, we will go to 700 million in 12 years from now. Cities are not new to India. You know, Varanasi is the oldest unfortified city in the world because everybody had a pact, including invaders from outside, that it would never attack Varanasi. Right? It has no fort walls at all, and it has no defense. But it has been around for so long, and we think city design, and whenever our politicians talk, they say, let's make our city like Singapore, or let's make it like Shanghai. Nobody ever says, let's make it like the Bombay that was there 50 years ago, like the Bangalore that was there in 1990s. They always have a fast-forward mentality. What I really think in India is required is a fast-forward mentality. We have to learn from our own mistakes and our own successes and build a future which is cleverer and not depend upon somebody else's story. It is estimated today that there are more smartphones in India than toilets, right? Which I think the Prime Minister is desperately trying to correct, but it will take some more time till we get enough toilets in this country, right? So let's ask the question again. What is smart, right? Smart cities have identity, right? When you think of Paris, you think of the Eiffel Tower. When you think of Bombay, you think of the Gateway of India. When you think of Jodhpur, there is a common pact among everybody to paint the city blue. No, it's like Jaipur is pink, but Jodhpur is blue. And you can see what happens when it creates a sense of pride in the city, right? Smart is planned. Planning has become obsolete in India because it's a static model that we are using. We need a dynamic planning model which changes every 2-3 years or very soon. This is the best airport in Bangalore, in India. I'm from Bangalore, so I'm biased. If you come in on an international flight, right, you will be in your car in 15 minutes, including luggage in your hand and through customs. And that's the problem is in everywhere else, all airports, the shops are in the way. In Bangalore, the shops are on the way. And just that little preposition makes for an efficient airport. That's all. That's the key inside. Shops are on your way. And you don't waste time going through some endless corridors to reach your plane. Right? Governance. We haven't learned how to look after our cities. This is Bangalore, the larger Bangalore region, and you can see that there are some 15 agencies fiddling with it, and they're all government agencies, and nobody talks to each other. So we need a huge revamp of something and the implementation of something called the 74th Amendment to the Indian Constitution, which empowers people to be part of planning processes. More and more citizen activism is required to tell our leaders what to do. Smart is, we have to make spaces in our cities for culture. We have our culture, whether it's religious culture or social culture. Cities must be designed to, it must not come to a screeching halt if there is a procession. And this is the site we don't want to see. It's called the wrong side of the railway tracks. This is Bombay, very close to you. And see the contrast between people living in the bottom and people, there's a railway track in the middle, and see what happens behind it. We cannot allow this kind of, what would I call, there will be blood on the streets if we do not address this social problem quickly. We have to find decent homes for everyone. Sustainable. This is a word which is used again and again. What does it really mean? Sustainable has to reach the root, the common man. It is still floating around in high level. A building like this is highly sustainable, but I'm not so sure that, we have to make sure that it goes, the benefits of sustainability also should go to everyone. It's social. This is the riverfront in Ahmedabad after the renovation. Look at the, you have to go to, we can't just keep going to malls and multiplexes and bars to meet people. We should have public places in India where we can just go and hang out without buying anything and watching other people, which is the most fun thing to do. Safe for women and children and old people. Somebody said a city should be designed so that between 8 and 80, it's called 8 to 80, because 8 years old is when you are allowed to go out for the first time on your own, and 80 years is the last time you're allowed to go on your own, right? You need a chaperone, right? So in between, the city must be safe to be able to do that. And finally, of course, smart is happy. So my point is that we need an Indian approach to problem solving. We do not want to go on listening to what somebody else has done. We don't want best practice. I'm bored of that word best. We need something called a next practice, in the words of C.K. Prahalad, right? So the India, in our Indian thought, all of you know this word Panchatattva, Panchabhuta. The world is made of 5 elements, right? The air, water, etc. So can we use this to reimagine our cities? We have the brains, we have the intelligence, we have the history, we have the tradition. What we don't seem to have is political will. And that is the job of all of us, to go and talk to our leaders, because mass leaders only listen to masses. They don't listen to anybody else. So if we combine Panchabhuta with the Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations, the Paris Climate Change Accord, of which we are a signatory, and look at the resources of India, we have very good data on India. Unfortunately, it sits in silos. I had to really look at 5 data sources for this. We know where the water is, we know where everything is. We have the Golden Quadrilateral, we have some projects which have started. I think it's time to use the definition, expand the definition of smart. And Germany, after the war, actually created a building exhibition called the International Bauausstellung, which reconstructed Germany by using innovative planning techniques. An organization like this is required for India. Everything is possible in India if the people get involved. And I would urge all of you to go out and at least become a member of your local resident welfare association and make a change. As much as I run an architectural practice, but I still spend 30% of my time doing only this, pushing for better places to live in. Thank you very much.